We see it all the time in schools, in motivational material. Speak up when something isn't right. If you see something, say something. These sayings seem to only apply to a select few these days. Often I have unintentionally started arguments and heated discussions simply by following that ethos. Am I a bad person for doing so? Are you a bad person for doing so? Maybe, but I know for a fact that at least I'm honest with what I'm saying. It may offend, upset, or discourage others, but truth is not always an easy pill to swallow. With the advent of technology, we now have in full display the weird that runs our world. We have men larping as women and sheep larping as wolves. Now, I am by no means a biologist, but I do know the difference between a woman and a man. I am also by no means a weapons or tactical expert, but I do know a weak-minded individual when I see one. Welcome to Slamfire, guys. If you haven't already, go to slamfiremedia.com. We have all our links to our videos at BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble, making sure everything's shown up there. And if you guys haven't noticed, we have an account for truth.social, I guess that's what it's called now, right? So I just thought I'd create that. I'm not a big fan of Twitter, but we're going to be using Gab and Truth as our big, I guess, social media platforms, right? So follow us on Gab and Truth at Slamfire Media. And I don't like to post like a bunch of stuff. I don't have too much time nowadays to myself, but usually I only post when I'm going to upload a video, or when a video has been uploaded, I'll post on there, hey guys, check out episode 25 or 26 or whatever. I'll put a link there to the website, and it has all the links to BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble, and you guys can like and share and do all that stuff at your own leisure. So I know it's been a little bit difficult. Just want to give you guys a little bit of rundown. It's been a while since I've done a video. I don't know what has been going on lately, but it's like I haven't been able to just sit. I haven't had an hour to myself just to sit down and record. Like, I would like to make this video a little bit longer because I haven't recorded in such a long time, but I'll just see how much time I have. I don't know what's going on. It's just I feel like there's just so many more people that they can't make decisions on their own. It's so weird. I'll get a call, I'll get a text about something, and it's like, okay, do you want me to do something about it, or like what? You're obviously telling me something because you want me to help you do something. So like, just tell me what you need help with, because you're making it take longer. I don't know. It's been happening lately. I don't know. Maybe it's a sign of our times that people are becoming, less and less self-reliant, and they're just, they forgot how to depend on themselves or something. I don't know what it is, but I've just noticed that lately I cannot sit down for an hour just to have peace and quiet in my office and do a video like this. So hopefully things change, and I don't know, maybe things will get better. It's just the start of the year. Maybe it after, I don't know. We'll see what happens though, guys. But I don't want to stop doing this. I want to keep doing this, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these videos, and I hope this helps you guys out in any way it can, whether it's motivational, whether it opens up your mind to thinking a little bit differently, or maybe it exposes you to a new idea that you never thought of before, or kind of, helps you out in some way, right? And if it doesn't, let me know. That's cool too, right? The whole purpose of this project that me and my buddy started was to just get a conversation started and start talking about things that people aren't comfortable talking about. That was the whole purpose of this, and I still believe in it. And I really don't have anyone else to talk to. Like, I just work, and the people that I work with, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk to anybody else. So, we're gonna keep going because I like doing this. I enjoy doing this. It's very therapeutic. All right, guys. So let's get into it. Today's episode is going to be a little different in that we are going to actually do some commentary. Of course, we'll talk about some of the weird stuff, but I really wanted to focus on the Uvalde shooting. It's still all part of this same theme in this episode where people are not behaving in a normal way, and it's important that we point that out, right? We may not be able to do anything directly about it, but at least it's important we point this stuff out, right? Because there's a lot. It's like we're in the age of gaslighting, so we need that confirmation. This video, hopefully it runs a little bit longer than usual, because I do want to go over the timeline for the Uvalde shooting that was provided by the lead investigator. The video is not too long. I want to say it's like 15 minutes, maybe less. I don't remember, but with the commentary and everything, it might make it go a little bit longer. But since I had wanted to do this video a while ago because the video for the timeline was released, and I want to say like the day after I uploaded episode 25, but I wanted to wait. I wanted to wait a little bit for anything new to come out so I can tie it all in together so that we can have a better picture. And sure enough, the actual video, like the body cam video of the police inside the hallways of the school, was released by the news outlets, and of course it gave us the clear picture that we already knew, right? It basically just confirmed what we already knew. So I am going to play the video of the lead investigator and go through the timeline and give commentary throughout. So hopefully this video is a little bit lengthier, but that seems fair since I haven't been able to upload in a good while. But I'm kind of scared the longer it goes gives more opportunity for someone to interject and call me or text me or something. Hey, someone needs this, or whatever, right? So we'll see how it goes. I also wanted to give you a heads up though before we get started. I will be saying things that most likely would get me banned on Twitter or big social media sites because it's transphobic or whatever. So if you have kids or if you're sensitive about that stuff, I'm warning you right now. Okay, so let's get straight into the weirdness that is starting to plague our world, right? Or has probably been plaguing our world for a while right now, right? Because I mean, by now this isn't anything new. I really don't think it's anything new. I just think that since we all have phones now, and with how fast information travels nowadays, we get more access than we ever used to before, right? We get a lot more information and we get it a lot quicker, right? So let's start with the ridiculousness that is the praise, not the person. I'm criticizing the praise of Rachel Levine. So if you don't know who Rachel Levine is, so it's basically a dude who thinks he's not a dude, right? One of those. So he was recognized as USA Today's Woman of the Year, and I emphasize woman in quotations. Okay, woman is in quotations. To my understanding, like this dude, he's like the highest ranking transgender person in the military. I want to say he's an admiral. So this is Rachel Levine. So what is amazing to me about this is that this dude right here is the Assistant Secretary of Health. So look at this person and understand that this is the Assistant Secretary of Health. Okay? A person with a mental illness, and that's what I think this is what's going on here. A person with a mental illness is responsible for providing advice and counsel on public health and science issues, right? My personal opinion, and that's what this is. This is my opinion, which is this is kind of weird that I have to say that it's an opinion, that this dude really only got his position because of his mental condition. Almost like a perverse type of affirmative action, right? And I honestly believe that this is some sort of mental condition or like a dysphoria. Because when I look at this picture over here, this other one, when I look at this picture right here, I see two dudes who are sick. They have something medically wrong with them. Like this is not like a Halloween bash or anything, right? Like that, right? This is a formal event where these people got dressed, looked in a mirror, and said, "Yup, this is it. This looks good," right? So this is not normal behavior, okay? People may hear me saying this and think like I'm being anti-LGBTQ or I'm a transphobe or whatever they want to, whatever buzzword they want to use, whatever, to try to make me out like I'm the bad guy or whatever. But if I'm a transphobe, do you think I'm afraid of these people, right? That's what transphobia is, right? Phobia is a fear, right? A fear of something. Trans is transgender, so you have a fear of transgender. You think I'm afraid of these people? Like I'm scared? Honestly, to be honest, I'm being sincerely honest. I'm more concerned about their mental health than anything else. So instead of telling these people they're sick and they should get some sort of help, there are people in society right now who are choosing to uplift these people. These people are not the problem. It's the praise and the uplifting that's the problem. They uplift these people and they give them positive reinforcement that this mental condition, this illness, is some sort of a triumph. Well, I'm here to say, as a regular, everyday, stupid American, apparently, right? I'm here to express my opinion that if a dude thinks he's a chick, if a dude thinks he's not a dude, something has gone wrong. Okay? Something's gone wrong with this person, and I believe they need some sort of clinical help. This is almost like a cry for help. Okay? So they need some sort of help. It'd be unethical. Think about it like this: it'd be unethical for a society to just let a mental condition or illness run rampant on people as a whole, right? Just in general. This is why I'm really tired. Just that idea. That's why I'm tired of people who pander to these false gender, and everyone does it, right? I even heard like Ben Shapiro say that um, if he's on a show with somebody and they prefer a certain pronoun, he'll use that pronoun just just so that the conversation can keep going, just to be socially appropriate or whatever. I forgot what word he used. But it's still pandering, right? Even though they know that it's not correct. So they'll call people a certain gender even though they're not that gender. That's what I'm talking about, right? So for example, we have Caitlyn Jenner, right? Now, if you change your name, this is kind of everyone kind of knows this name, but in general, for regular everyday people, for not celebrities. So Caitlyn Jenner, if you change your name, it's whatever, but don't get upset when you keep changing you can't get mad if people can't keep up with all the switching, right? Because you're one thing one day and one thing another, and you change your name. Like it's hard to keep up, but whatever. That's minutia, whatever. So Caitlyn Jenner is a dude, right? Caitlyn Jenner is a dude. He was an Olympic champion. People forget this. He was an Olympic champion, but because he basically mutilated his penis, automatically we're supposed to think like magically now he's a woman? No. In my eyes, and according to science, which is so weird, that's kind of like an oxymoron, right? Like it's an opinion, yet it's scientific, right? That doesn't make sense. So, but I'm just being, whatever. So in my eyes, and this is according to science, because a lot of the things I think about is kind of based off of logic, right? He is a dude pretending to be a woman. And I don't understand, like, why is saying something like that so controversial? If you want to be something you're not, why is it on everyone else to affirm that, right? Why is it on me to make you feel comfortable with who you are? That doesn't make any sense. So, for example, if I want to be an astronaut, I don't expect people to affirm that. I expect people to challenge that idea, right? Not everyone can be an astronaut. You need to have some sort of training, some sort of qualification. You need to have some sort of, criteria that you need to meet in order to meet that standard, right? That's what challenging that idea means. That's normal, right? To check someone's credentials. That's normal. But it is considered taboo, or now they call it hate speech, to challenge transgender people, right? It's so strange. So this is why I think that this is some sort of mental condition or illness. It goes against all logic, right? It doesn't go against the normal. It doesn't follow the normal parameters. It goes against all logic. Like no matter how you slice it. I think people forgot how to tell people no. I think that's what's going on here. People forgot how to tell people no. They forgot how to say, I don't agree with what you're saying. I think you're wrong, right? I think that's what's happened here. People have gotten scared of confrontation. So we wouldn't allow, so think of it in another way. We wouldn't allow a person who was born completely blind, right? I'm not talking about like your vision's a little hazy, you don't have 20/20 vision. No, I'm talking like completely blind. They cannot see. They need the stick, they need the dog, they need the whole shebang, right? They're blind. You wouldn't allow a person who was born completely blind to drive a car, right? In order for you to drive a car, vision is required in order for you to perform that task, right? And anyone who would encourage someone to drive when they don't have that capacity to drive is not only putting the blind person in danger, but everybody else that's on the road, right? Society as a whole is being put in danger, right? We can't just have blind people driving around crashing into people, for example, right? I don't want to get too much into this transgender stuff. I just wanted to use that as people are not behaving normally, right? So you get the gist of it. With that, We also have people who are paid to be brave. It's their job to perform brave acts, right? To protect and serve. Yet when presented with the opportunity, they sit on their hands and decide to do nothing. They allow fear to control the situation at the worst possible time when others' lives depend on their decisions. All of this is, of course, is in reference to the Uvalde shooting that happened back in May. There's still new information coming out, and I think it'll be a while till we get everything. But we do have enough information to determine that this was a complete cluster cuss. It was just they just messed up, right? Based on the part of the Uvalde Police Department. Like any way you slice it, this was just a mass f up, right? So we will be going into more detail with what happened, but let me tie this in with what we discussed earlier. This plague, right? That's how I started this are my little monologue here. So this plague has infected even the ones who were thought would not be affected by weakness, right? Their purpose is to save people, to protect people. That's not something that usually ties in with weakness. The ones who we give authority in order to keep us safe. My theory on why they failed to act is that they just didn't have the experience. They were caught flat-footed and they're just completely inexperienced. So if these people actually had experience in these types of situation, they either didn't learn it from they either didn't learn it or they completely forgot, right? So which I believe is kind of worse, right, than just being ignorant and inexperienced. So I don't know. So all this I believe is a result of people never really facing actual adversary in life. Like, you never actually face a real challenge in life. This is obviously like completely speculation, but I think that these officers grew up and were told they could be anything they want to be. So they decided to become a police officer because they thought it was cool, right? They get to carry a gun. They have all this type of authority. They get all these perks. But what they fail to realize that when it comes time to put your life on the line, you would have to put others in front of yourself when it came to safety. I don't think these people were prepared to make that sacrifice, to perform their actual duty. I don't think they were prepared. So when these officers were in training or in like the whatever process they had to becoming officers, no one actually challenged them or pushed them. No one pushed them to the limit in order to weed out those weak-minded individuals. So when I was going through EMS school, for example, it was tough, right? Not only mentally, but physically. We started with 30 students, and by the time we finished, we ended up with like only 12. So a large, more than half of the people quit. I want to say it was less though. I remember a few of us not even going to graduate. I don't know, yeah, but I remember 12 guys. Yeah, it was 12 guys because there was two, and then they dropped out. Yeah, so we ended up. It was more than half, definitely more than half, like left. So when people would quit, the instructors would tell us, a lot of us say goodbye, but you should say good riddance. They told us that these people are quitting in controlled environments. So like we're just practicing, and they're quitting during practice. So imagine how they would respond in real life death situations, like real life and death situations. So what will happen when you're in a high stakes situations and they quit on you then? It doesn't seem like in reference to the Uvalde officers, it doesn't seem like these officers were ever told no or pushed to the point where they would need to actually consider what the job requires of them. So I don't want to get too much I don't want to get too much on my soapbox about my EMS and all my endeavors and my accolades and all that crap. So let's get into the actual timeline of the shooting itself. So we're gonna watch and listen to the lead investigator give us the timeline of what actually happened. So the hearing they had in Austin, it was long. It was like hours, but yeah, it was like multiple hours. But we're only going to be commenting on. I'll only be commenting on the time portion itself. So the timeline itself. Okay, and I'll give comments along the way. So we're actually going to only go over the timeline itself. The DPS director, he gives more information at the beginning about the shooter himself, like how it led up to it, but we just want to focus on the timeline here, right? And where the officers themselves failed. That's the whole purpose of this video. Okay, so I have this pulled up here. If you guys want to watch this whole video, I suggest you do it. It's not that long. It's about an hour, but the hearing itself, I want to say it was like over 5 hours. I tried to watch a lot of it, but a lot of them were just kind of questions and like hypotheticals. Well, what if we had done this? What if we had like just kind of playing with ideas, not really saying much. But this is this video. Oh, I'm not showing you guys. Here we go. So this video, if you guys do it right here, full testimony of DPS director Steve McCraw and Uvalde shooting. It's not too long. I would recommend watching these first like 15 minutes or so, and he gives good background about the shooter himself, on how he got the guns, all the and that itself is just stupid. Like I'm just gonna comment on this one thing, and then we'll get into the video, and then I'll shut up about it and just get into the video. But basically, the the piece of trash, the low life who did this, I'm not even going to say his name. He's just an idiot loser. He's not worth a breath. This dude purchased the gun legally. He had a joint bank account. And this was something that we talked about before, right? He had a joint bank account. Like, how could he afford this gun? Like, it was super expensive, like the Cadillac of AR-15s, right? So how did he afford this gun with no job, no real source of income to afford that weapon, the ammunition, a car, and all that stuff? So he had a joint bank account with his grandmother. Now, if I was I don't make tons of money, but I would notice thousands of dollars missing from my bank account and question it. It makes absolutely no sense. So it's just like a failed part on the parents as well. Like, just ridiculous. That's just one of the things that they talk about in this first section right here. They don't actually talk about that and say like, oh, how did the grandparent not notice? Like, no, they just talk about the facts. They just give the facts, like this happened, this happened, this happened. Like, they even say like why he crashed, because the freaking moron, he didn't even know how to drive. He was a I want to drop F bombs right now so much, because like this guy's just a freaking loser. He's so much of a loser. He didn't even know how to drive. That's why he crashed his grandmother's truck, because he couldn't even drive the truck. He didn't even have a license or anything. Didn't know how to drive. Just a complete waste of life, just taking up space. Like, good riddance, he's gone. He's a useless person. So let's get into this. We're going to listen to I think he's like a special agent, McCraw. He's the he's the director Steve McCraw, and he's going to be going through the timeline, and we'll talk a little bit as we're going through. Okay.
So you can go up on the timeline here. Begin shooting at your classroom 111, 112. He enters to 11:33. So we're talking about 32 seconds after he enters, because he entered West Building at 11:33. So the crash is at 11:28, enters the building at 11:33, or 11:33 exactly, and 11:33 in seconds, begins shooting at the classroom, and then he enters into what we believe is 111. I say believe, okay, at this time, 111, and he begins shooting.
So he entered the school at 11:33, and he started shooting. So kind of remember that number, 11:33, and this was something that we talked about earlier, that I don't know, maybe I talked to my wife about it, but I believe that these cops responded quick. Like, the response was quick. These dudes were there, because the guy got in there at 11:33. Let's see how long it took for police to get there.
If you go over your timeline, look at, you'll see more than 100 rounds were fired initially. Another 11 rounds were fired at 11:37, okay, and injuring 2 officers who were approaching. That the rooms, the walls.
So 4 minutes later, there were already officers getting shot at, right? Because he said 11:33, that's when he got inside, and at 11:37 is when he fired more rounds where officers got hit. So they were there quick, like within minutes. And that was usually something that I had always talked about, that when you're in a dangerous situation, when you're in a life and death situation and you need something right now, You're already there. That's why we made that video before. Buy a gun. Buy a gun because you are your last resort. You are the person that you should depend on because you're already there. You're already in that situation, right? You'd have to wait minutes, long time for to call the police. You get dispatch on the phone. You gotta go through that whole spiel with the dispatch and talk to them, tell them all that junk and everything like that. And by the time the cops get out there, it's been 10, 15 minutes. The fight's over, right? You're already there. These cops, like, they responded really, really fast. The guy was in there at 11:33, in the school at 11:33, and within 4 minutes, right? Yeah, within 4 minutes, there was already police there getting shot at. So that's really good time. I think that's good time.
Inside the interior are sheetrock and bullets go through. The two were grazed, at that point retreated. I can tell you at 11:36, as we mentioned before, you had 3 Uvalde PD officers into the west door.
That's interesting too. This is something that I just noticed that the police that got shot, let's go back.
112 initially. Overall, there was 20. Now, some of those rounds could have been, when we're evacuating, first responders are evacuating, trying to save lives, could have drugged some of those rounds out there. But for right now, first up here, what you can't see, it's inset in here. Then he approaches, and you regard, and one of those things
Did I
is
see that? Wouldn't go too far. I think I went too far. Sorry.
And 2 Uvalde PD officers. So we had 4 officers, 7 officers right now in the building at 11:36.
See, I want to see where, because if the officers got shot through the drywall, that means that the officers went into the wrong door. They went into the wrong classroom thinking they were in there. The shooter heard the police in the other room and shot through the drywall at the police, and that's what grazed, or that's what wounded one of the police officers, and that's what caused them to retreat. I want to just confirm that.
Grazed, at that point retreated.
See, right there, grazed, retreated. Let's go back a little bit.
Bullets go through. Walls inside the interior are sheetrock, and bullets go through. The 2 were grazed, at that point retreated. Rooms 7, okay, and injuring 2 officers were approaching. That the rooms, the walls inside the interior are sheetrock, and bullets go through. If you go over your timeline, look at, you'll see more than 100 rounds were fired initially. Another 11 rounds were fired at 11:37, okay, and injuring 2 officers were approaching. That the rooms, the walls inside the interior are sheetrock, and bullets go through.
So he said that the officers were approaching, but he doesn't. Let me see over here. I have a picture. I believe the inside of the classroom wall, like from classroom to classroom, is what he's referring to. Unless the outside of the walls themselves are sheetrock, but usually they're not. Usually they're like some sort of like cinder block. So I have a picture here, and I don't know. It does look like sheetrock. Let me see if I can show you guys this picture. Yeah, here we go. So if you guys look at this, like, this looks like sheetrock, right? Usually you would see like the lines of cinder block or whatever, but all this looks like sheetrock. Okay, so then but because I look outside right here and I see like these cinder block looking types, but I guess that's just the exterior of the building. And then here you have these other pictures, but yeah, here's a good one. You can't really see those lines that would indicate that this is cinder block. It looks like sheetrock. Yeah, this is like the best picture, but it's all fuzzy. This one's a little bit more clear. Yeah, that does look like sheetrock to me. Okay, so the officers were approaching. They never went into a class. They hadn't gone into a classroom yet. So I just wanted to make that clear because I was starting to think like, man, that's even worse that they went into the wrong room, got shot at, and then retreated. So they knew that there was a shooter in there, and you'll see why later on.
The 2 were grazed, at that point retreated. I can tell you at 11:36, as we mentioned before, you You had 3 Uvalde PD officers enter the west door. It's 11:35.
So they were even there sooner than that. So at 11:36, so that's 3 minutes after. 3 minutes after he entered the school, which was at 11:33. Within 3 minutes, there was already 2 officers.
11:36, 2, and 2 Uvalde PD officers. So we had 4 officers, 7 officers right now in the building at 11:36.
7 officers. I know the audio is very, very low. I have it like blasted all the way as high as it can go. He's just away from the microphone. There's like a little microphone over here. He picks up the microphone later, and the audio gets better. But basically, there were 7 officers within 3 minutes inside that school. That's, to me, that's very quick response time. That's very, very fast. That's very quick. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot can happen in 30 seconds. A lifetime can happen in 30 seconds, right? But in all fairness, to get to where you're at, to a high stress situation, to be there within 3 minutes, I can't knock the police officers on that. I can't. That's very quick response time.
That's pretty quick time, considering all the different factors in that regard.
There you go.
There was never a school resource officer on the scene. A school resource officer did respond, and when he responded to the location.
So the police got there faster than the school police officer, the one who was supposed to be there.
Man with a gun. So he's off campus, he's in his vehicle, he responds rapidly. As he does, he sees what he thinks when he drives in, he sees what he thinks is the subject.
Real quick, he talks about all this. He gives the layout at the beginning of the video, but I just want to give you guys an idea of what's going on. So this is the funeral home that's across the street from the elementary school, from Robb Elementary School. So where all the lines are going to, this is the parking lot of Robb Elementary School, and this is the main building. So he entered in through here, and he walked down in through here for the shooter. Okay, so just so that you guys have context of what you're looking at right here. Okay, so this is the entire campus of Robb Elementary School. The moron crashed over here, and this is that story that you hear where he shot at the funeral people. The employees at the funeral home, they came out because they thought it was a car accident. They received gunfire when he crashed, and they retreated back to their funeral home. Right, and then that's when everything starts. Just for context.
Back here, it wasn't the subject, it was a teacher. He drives directly towards that subject, the teacher, and says, "I'm out with the subject." So it had already been reported on the radio, man with a gun, okay, at the school, after a crash. He thinks he's got the subject. He drives quickly. He drove, over 50 miles an hour into it, going towards the subject. And unfortunately, that wasn't the subject. The subject was right here. He passed the subject as he went.
See, I don't know if that matters, because it's like, does the school resource officer, is his form of communication connected to the police? Are they on the same frequency, or are they on the same line? You know what I mean? Again, guys, I said this at the beginning of the video. I am not a tactical expert. I don't have law enforcement experience or anything like that. I'm just talking about this as a regular everyday person using logic, right? So the school resource officer hauled ass, he did his duty. He ran directly, he drove directly straight towards what he thought was the subject, right? He did what I think I would do the same thing. What else could you do? But he reports that. Does that matter? Because I don't think he's in contact with police. I don't know if they have, I could be wrong, but it doesn't really matter.
That's why some of the confusion early on.
See, that's just other reports. I don't think that really matters.
Now, the doctrine for active shooters is clear. I mentioned it before. And it's 2 sets of it. Hey, you stop the killing, you stop the dying. The other part of that doctrine is you isolate, you distract, and you neutralize. Everyone's taught this. You require it in T-Cole training. We practice it. We preached it. This is the doctrine, and it recognizes that you run to the sound of gunfire. When you get to gunfire, you don't stop. Okay, when you get there, you run into gunfire. Okay, and it's so important to do so.
So what he just said right here, that's what makes me think that it was just the lack of training and lack of experience from these people, because we just heard that officers went in and they were shot at. They went in, they were shot at, and then what did they do? They retreated. They did what they were not supposed to do. That was against their training. He just said that you run towards the gunfire. You run towards the gunfire. You stop the killing. And they didn't do that. They ran away. So that right there is the basis for why I think there was just lack of training. That's where I get that idea from.
And I'll tell you what, and I've said it before, and I hope I've underscored it. There's no doubt in my mind that those officers would have gone, any one of them would have sacrificed their lives for those children. Any one of them. If they knew there was kids in that room and teachers in that room, I have great confidence that those police officers, those local officers, would have done what was right.
And that doesn't make sense. That statement makes absolutely no sense, because they were getting shot at. How do you know that there are no kids in that room? Did they know that there were no kids in that room? Wouldn't you assume it's a regular school day? The parking lot is obviously full. You can see in these other pictures right here, there's there's doors right here that are locked up. There's windows right here. They should be like closed up and everything like that. You can kind of tell that if there's kids in here, right? So there's obviously like school's going on, right? It's obvious that school's going on. It's not like an empty school or anything like that. Schools are going on. They saw a teacher there. I'm pretty sure they know that school is going on right now. So to think that, oh, I didn't see any kids, so there must not be any kids in there, right? Or I hear gunshots and I can't visually confirm if there are kids. You don't know if there's kids in there or not. So that should be even more reason to go in, right? And for him to say that, I want to hear him say that again, because that doesn't make any sense.
There was kids in any one of them would sacrifice their lives for those children. Any one of them. If they knew there was kids in that room and teachers in that room, I have great confidence that those police officers, those local officers, would have done what was right.
But they didn't. So that statement is completely nullified by the fact that they didn't. Like, complete confidence, your confidence should be shot, because they didn't. They didn't know that there was kids in there, there was teachers in there. They should have gone in to neutralize, especially if they didn't know, because there could have been. There could have been, especially when school is like it's in the middle of the day at 11:30, 11:40, right? Lunchtime.
11:40, we have Chief. 11:40, we have Chief. First report: officers contained in the office. Contained is not a word for active shooter. Contained is a barricaded subject. Contained is a situation where you may have a hostage. You need a SWAT team. Okay, you have time. The C's. First you contain, then you communicate with the subject, then you call for SWAT, then you create an immediate action plan. That's not what this was. This was never anything more than an active shooter situation. But at some point,
again, just proves my point again. Like, it was never a contained situation. It was always an active shooter situation. So it was always an active shooter situation. We never should have seen police just standing there. That shows you never should have seen police just standing there, or we never should have seen police retreat. That shows lack of training. That shows lack of courage. That shows weakness, because there were parents who knew that there was a shooter inside. They were willing to go in there without a weapon, without body armor, without tactical gear, without shields, without AR-15s. They were willing to go in there no matter what to go get their kids out. These cops were not willing to do that. That's what tells me that there's a weakness here. That it's a plague of weakness. That these guys never got weeded out. They never went through real hardcore training to actually test them push them to their limits, to see if they're actually prepared for what it took, for what this job took, right? What it takes to actually perform your duty.
He's contained the office. Then we have Chief Ariano calls Uvalde PD. It has been reported he did not have a radio with him. He did not. That was actually true. That was correct report.
So the chief of
This
police
is the
was
conver-
there. The chief of police got there really, really quick, and he was like pretty much the on-scene commander, to my understanding. And the genius, he's the chief of police. The genius doesn't even have a radio. Who are you the chief of police of? Like, don't you need to be in contact with like your regular officers? You need a radio for that. Or are you just calling everybody on your cell phone? Like you got everybody on your family plan or something? Like it's crazy.
This is the conversation that he had, and you can read it yourself in your notes.
On his cell phone.
Purposes of this. Chief Ariando. Hey, it's Ariando. It's Ariando. Can you hear me? I'd like to tell you where we're at. It's an emergency right now. I'm inside the building. I'm inside the building where this man has an AR-15. He shot a whole bunch of times. We're inside the building. He's in a one room. I need a lot of firepower, so I need this building surrounded with as many AR-15s as possible.
See,
Already
this is a problem because it's like, why is he talking? Why is he talking? Why isn't he acting, perform? Like, why aren't you doing something? That's why I don't like that statement that this guy, this Steve McGraw, this director guy said. I don't like that statement that without a doubt, if they knew there were kids in there, they knew this and they knew that, there's no doubt in my mind that they would have gone in there to save these kids. They would have sacrificed themselves and this and that. That's not true. I don't think that's true. I think he's lying to himself, or he's trying not to throw anybody under the bus. Again, this is a part of the plague that I'm talking about. He doesn't want to make anybody feel bad that they didn't do their job right or something. That's what I think is happening here.
Responded. Can be heard talking in the background and asking what room number. The chief. Is the teacher with him? Is the teacher with him? Is the teacher with him? Is she in the room as he's in? Can you hear him? Ma'am? Ma'am? Dispatcher, I'm right here. Chief. Ma'am, is the teacher with him in his classroom? Dispatcher. She's in another classroom. She's in room 102. Another person possibly shot across from her.
So they heard gunfire. He heard gunfire, and he confirms that there's someone in the room, yet he's still on the phone. See, this is what I'm talking about. Lack of training. Lack of willingness to perform. Lack of willingness to act when action is required.
102 is 112. Is the accurate number. Chief Ariando, okay, we have him in the room. He's got an AR-15. He's shot a lot. He's in the room. He hasn't come out yet. We're surrounded, but I don't have a radio with me. Please let all units know he's going to be in a room. He's in room 111 or 112, and we're in here.
He said we're surrounded. What do you mean we're surrounded? Or do you mean you're surrounded, or you have him surrounded?
And we're let all units know he's going to be in a room. He's in room 111 or 112, and we're in here. I'm in the hallway. Sergeant, another sergeant are here. We need this place surrounded, and if you have SWAT, I need them to set up south side of the building, which is the nearest to the location to the funeral home. Dispatcher confirms SWAT location. Chief Ariando, yes. They need to be outside the building and prepared because we don't have enough firepower. Right now it's all pistols and he has an AR-15. You can get the SWAT team set up by the funeral home, okay? And we need, yes, I need more firepower in here because we have pistols and this guy's got a rifle. So I don't have a radio. If somebody can come in, the dispatcher, Chief Ariando, but I am going to drop it when he comes out of the door, all right? So I need you to bring a radio for me and give me my radio. For me, I need to get one rifle. Hold on, I'm trying to set him up, or set him. I'm going to set him up right now, okay? Do me a favor. Call me when SWAT is set up. I'm going to have you a vibrate, though. Call me twice if you have to. It's okay. All right, thank you.
Amazing. All that time talking, and he's complaining like, I only have a pistol. He has a rifle. I don't believe, again, I want to put that disclaimer out there. I'm by no means a tactical expert or a weapons expert or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure in the handbook and the active shooter handbook, I'm pretty sure there isn't like a little exception note on the bottom that says if you only have a pistol and they have a rifle, wait for backup. Wait for someone to bring you your rifle and to bring you your radio so that you can be in communication and so that you can fight back. I'm by no means a tactical expert, but I'm willing to bet I'd put like $100. I put like $100 on that and say that I'm pretty sure it doesn't say that in the active shooter manual to wait for more firepower if you don't have enough firepower. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say that.
Questions have been asked about who's in charge. And much to the chagrin to some, that when people believe and what they hear, that when the FBI shows up, no, they're not in charge, okay? When other agencies show up, you're not in charge. It's the original.
So now they're like
agency
getting
that has
into
the
like
original jurisdiction.
whose
in charge.
responsibility this
But
was.
you have options. Just because you're in charge and you have the authority and you're the ranking official, senior official on site, you can actually delegate that down. In my case, the lower I delegate it, the better in terms of sound decision making. Or you can delegate it to another agency, or you can ask another agency to take the lead. This is common practice in ICS, in incident command. We practice that in Texas. We always practice it. We preach it. We're very careful, and you'll find when you talk to the experts in the alert training program, as self-deploying as a risk. Deciding who's in charge, deciding it on your own to take action without it being properly coordinated is a risk.
So right here, he even said it himself. He's contradicting himself a lot. Deciding for yourself to take action. So he's saying that action should have taken place, yet it wasn't. So going back to how he said, like, I had no doubt that had the officers known that there were kids in there was teachers, there were people in there, they would have sacrificed their lives. Like, no, they didn't do that. That's verifiably proven with all of these pictures, all of the evidence, all of this right here just shows that they were not willing to do that. Just LARPing. This is LARPing right here.
It's one of the challenges you have in these type of situations. But nevertheless, in terms of if you're going to issue commands, okay, if you're going to direct action, you're the ranking official from the agency that has jurisdiction, you're the on-scene commander.
This chief was very much the on-scene commander. He's the chief of police, of the chief of that police department, and he's there on scene. He should be the commander.
At 1140. Let's assume that was a barricaded subject. He was contained. Well, he fires again, and he's room 111 and 112. It's not.
So then again, 1140. We're talking 7 minutes here, right? Because he entered at 11:33. We're less than 10 minutes. All this is going on.
Reasonable to expect that there's children and teachers in that room still alive.
It doesn't matter if they're alive or dead. You don't know. It makes no difference.
We believe that he's barricaded in one of the offices. They're still shooting. More misinformation. He's not barricaded in an office. Okay, he's in a classroom, 111 and 112.
See, what does it matter? Misinformation. Like, it doesn't matter if he's barricaded or if he's walking around, if he's being taking up defensive positions. It doesn't matter. Like, who cares about the terminology? Who cares? I mean, I would say he's barricaded. He's locked up in a room somewhere, and he's obviously not going anywhere. So what does it matter whether he's barricaded or not? That doesn't change what is required in terms of how this should be handled.
Dispatch asks if the door is locked, to which a Uvalde PD officer replies, "I'm not sure. We have a hooligan to break it."
Right there, they asked if the door was locked, and he says, "I'm not sure. We have a hooligan tool," which is like a pry bar type of tool thing. I've seen some of the cops use it. It's pretty cool. It basically like pries open the door. It just busts open the door, and they're gonna use that tool. But he says, "I'm not sure." Why don't you just take it? Like, they were so scared. They were scared to the point where they were too scared to reach open to try to open the door, because I guess all the walls are sheetrock. They don't want to like alert the guy to be like, "Oh, look, they're coming at the door," and they were too scared to receive gunfire because they didn't want to jiggle the handle. That's what that tells me right there.
Tool, so you can just break the lock and move in at the door. At 11:41, 4 first responders in the room from the east hallway. We had 2 constables, a fire marshal, and UPD officer. So officers continue to flood into the particular area. So we had 11 to begin with. We've had another 4 officers to it. The DPS trooper was the first DPS officer to arrive. And
Director McCraw, we've got to ask you this.
Yes.
Best you can, speak into the mic.
Oh, yes, sir. I apologize.
So the system can pick it up. If you could put that mic up, that would be great.
All right.
So what's interesting to me is this is what, as this progresses, this kind of adds to our whole theme of this video that we're talking. This plague of weakness, right? Just tolerating weakness without not saying something or doing something. Tolerating someone behaving in a way that's not normal. You have a bunch of people flooding, a bunch of law enforcement flooding into a building, yet no one has the capacity or the ability to say, this is not right, we should be doing this. You are doing something wrong, you don't know what you're doing, move out of the way so that someone who does know what they're doing can get it done, because you are doing a bad job at this. Everyone was too scared because he's the chief, he's the top dog, he's the one that signs their paycheck, I guess, approves their hours and basically allows them to live their lifestyle. They're afraid to go against him. This is part of that plague that I'm talking about.
How about that, sir? Does that work?
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Chairman. At 11:42, we had a DPS trooper and 2 PD officers enter from the east hallway. She was there less than 2 minutes, looked around because at that point in time there's multiple officers, and she left the building to find other duties as assigned.
So this person walked in and be like, yep, this looks good, and just walked out. Is that normal behavior? Yeah, this looks good. This looks like that makes no sense. Amazing.
44, another suspect fired around. 11:44 later, UPDA officers.
So they're still firing around, right? He said that fired around.
Have some. 11:44 later, UPDA officers have some officers there available to get everybody back. UCISD officers. 11:44 later, UPDA officers have some officers there available to get everybody back. And she left the building to find other duties as assigned. 11:44, another suspect fired around.
Right there, I heard that, right? At 11:44, another suspect fired around. So the shooting's going on, yet they're still standing there, right? So I want to go back because I want to highlight what he had said. He said, I have all the confidence that these people would have sacrificed themselves had they known there were kids in there, a teacher in there, or whatever. So they knew that there was at least a teacher in there, and the person was still shooting. Their lack of training, their lack of ability to act is the reason why this happened. Or they, not happened, but allowed to happen, continue to happen.
11:44 later, UPDA officers have some officers there available to get everybody back. UCISD officer Ruben Reese and one of our sergeants, Sergeant Maldonado, actually drove Officer Reese to the scene.
I believe that's the guy that his wife called him. His wife was the teacher, or one of the teachers, I believe, inside that classroom, and he drove and he wanted to get inside the classroom. He was one of those that they held back. I want to say I think it might be this one. I think it's this picture. I'm not 100% sure. But there was a situation that they talked about where there was a police officer who received a phone call from his wife inside the school, that she was inside the classroom that was shot up, and he wanted to get in there. I believe that's what he's referring to.
He enters at that point in time.
Oh wait, we can tell what that time. What was that time?
He enters at that.
See if he gives us a time.
He enters at that point in time.
What time is that? Did he say?
Entered, actually drove Officer UCISD Officer Ruben Reese. And one of our sergeants, Sergeant Maldonado, actually drove Officer Ruiz to the scene.
See if he gives a time. I might need to go back a little bit further.
He enters at that point in time.
He enters, okay. What time? Give me the number.
No, officers, they need to get out of the hallway.
Oh.
Have some officers there available to get everybody back. UCISD Officer Ruben Reese. And one of our sergeants, building to find other duties as assigned. 11:44, another suspect fired around.
Okay, 11:44.
11:44 later. UPD officers have some officers there available to get everybody back. UCISD Officer Ruben Reese. And one of our sergeants, Sergeant Maldonado, actually drove Officer Ruiz to the scene.
So 11:44, and he said sometime after. This says 11:52. So I don't know. That's kind of that's too far apart. Let's see if there's other pictures here. 11:4. No, that's too later. 11:56. This is before that, so this is 7 minutes. I mean, they may not have it here, but 12:02. I'm not going to spend too much time. I just want to at least look for a little bit, see if I can see here. 11:44. What are these guys doing? This guy's just chilling. What are these guys doing? It's kind of infuriating looking at these pictures. So I guess it doesn't matter. But look at that, 11:37. If this time is this time correct, or is this time correct? What is which one are we looking at here? Whatever.
He enters at that point in time. No, officers, they need to get out of the hallway. Well, before I need to talk about Officer Ruiz. He notes that she's been shot. He's talking about his wife. He got a call from his wife. His wife was in room 112 and later died. Unknown officer says they need to get out of the hallway, to which an officer responds, Chief is in there. Chief is in charge right now. Hold on. 11:51, 7 Border Patrol agents enter the west door. There had been a call earlier for BORTAC, and BORTAC was en route.
That's something I want to point out too. That I've heard a lot of people talk about how they and good on them. I'm not gonna rip on BORTAC, on Border Patrol or anything like that about this, but just something that what people are saying about it. That they say that look at what BORTAC did and blah blah blah. They were protecting their community and this and that. It's like, no, they only showed up because they were called. They were called, and that's why they showed up. I'm pretty sure had they would have been there sooner, because I believe I never mind. I could be just talking out of my ass, but that's an important part to listen to. That BORTAC was there because they were called. They didn't just show up because they wanted to do a good deed. Be like, hey, let me go over here and help these guys out. No, they were called.
These aren't BORTAC, and BORTAC was en route. Right now, hold on. 11:51, 7 Border Patrol agents enter the west door. There had been a call earlier for BORTAC, and BORTAC was en route.
A call was made earlier for them to come.
These aren't BORTAC agents that first responded. At 11:52, there's a first ballistic shield that enters the west door. At 11:52 later, UPD officers, units just showing up. Can you help with crowd control? So officers after 11:52 are being diverted to crowd control activities. 11:53, unknown officer informs a DPS special agent that they need right now is a perimeter.
They have so many officers.
There are still kids inside, to which the DPS special agent responds, if there is, then they just need to go in.
They have so many officers that they're already sending officers outside for crowd control.
Someone comments about whether there are still kids, in which he responds, if there is, then just need to go in. He enters the west building and is directed on where the suspect is focused on. This is from a body camera, and you'll note that any information that I'm using right now, it came from, it's color-coded, so when it's blue, it's body camera. Obviously, from video surveillance, it's either, whether it's funeral home and indicated, and of course, the Uvalde PD recordings as well. And you have that in your booklet.
So I want to give praise on that. Someone went in there and said, hey, we need to go in there. We need to go in there now. Like, if there's kids in there, we need to go in.
It's color-coded, which to go in, which the DPS special agent responds. If there is, then they just need to go in. Right now is a perimeter. Someone comments on whether there are still kids inside, to which the DPS special agent responds, if there is, then they just need to go in.
So they knew.
Someone comments about whether there are still kids, in which he responds, if there is, then just need to go in. He enters the west building.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's almost like they know something's wrong. They know that things are not going the way that they're supposed to be going, yet they still do nothing about it. Like, and again too, say you don't know if there's a kid in there or not. Even with the possibility that there's a kid in there, shouldn't they go in anyway? Right? If you don't know, shouldn't that make you want to go in there even more? Because there could be a kid in there. There could be kids in there. You know that there's at least a teacher in there because an officer received a phone call from his wife who was literally dying in that classroom. So they know that there is at least a teacher in there. They should have gone in with that information alone. It's amazing. Like, it just gets worse and worse and worse as it progresses.
It's directed on where the suspect is focused on. This is from a body camera, and you'll note that any information that I'm using right now, it came from, it's color-coded, so when it's blue, it's body camera. Funeral home and indicated, and of course, the Uvalde PD recordings as well. And you have that in your booklet. After some time, the DPS officer, said, "Is there kids in there? We need to go in right now." Then he said, "What's that?" Then whoever's in charge will determine that, because what he recommended, if there's kids in there, we need to go get them. And then later on, the DPS agent, he left the scene to look for kids, found a young boy in the restroom in the west building that was hiding.
So they found kids in the school, so they know that there's kids in the school. They know that school is going on right now. It's amazing. If someone, especially, if you think about it, it's just all completely wrong, like just horrible. Because if you think about it, all the walls, right? All the walls in the school are sheetrock, right? All these walls are sheetrock. So if there's kids in other classrooms and there's a person shooting inside one room, there's a possibility that he's technically shooting at everybody that's in the building, because those bullets, those projectiles, if he's firing 223, are designed to go through objects. They're designed to penetrate. So if he's just shooting in that room, the bullets are not contained within that room. They could say he's in this room, they can come out this wall, go into this wall and into this room. So it doesn't matter if there's anybody in that room or not. If he's shooting, if he's shooting in a building that has nothing but sheetrock, no cinder block, he's shooting at all the people inside the building. All the kids, all the teachers, everybody else that's inside all these other rooms that are surrounding. The rooms that are next to the rooms that are next to the room in question, and the rooms that are across the room in question. So it doesn't matter if there was someone in there or not.
Side to look at, search other classrooms. There's a PD channel recording. Again, it's critical that let the PD take the point. 11:58, after an unknown officer was asked where the shooter is, another unknown officer advises the school chief of police is in there with him. There's a 911 call at 12:03, and that's the call from.
It's almost like the chief of police wanted to turn it into a hostage situation because he wanted to save the shooter or something like that, trying to give the shooter a chance to redeem himself or something. I don't know.
Chloe, the first time Chloe calls.
So it's almost like I'm thinking of, like, the more I think about it, it's like well, if there's anybody in there, they're dead already. I can't save them. Maybe I can come out good and save somebody, save the shooter. Maybe that's what he was thinking. I don't know. That's just speculation. I'm just thinking out loud.
And of course, it's heart-wrenching to listen to her. She's in room 112, okay? She was actually the only child in room 12 that was uninjured. Okay, there was 8 children killed, 2 teachers killed in that room. And of course, she was uninjured. 9 children were injured in room 112. 1203, the second ballistic shield enters the west door. 1204, the third ballistic shield enters the west door. And yet there's no action.
So it kind of goes on and on and on. Where
PD officer, go around and get the master keys to the room.
I don't want to stay on this too much.
Elementary school.
Like, I don't want to stay on this too much, in that all he's going to talk about is all the details that was leading up to the final end. Which the whole point of this is that all they did was just amass resources and did nothing with them until the very end, when after all the carnage was already, after everything took place. Just ridiculous. But it gets worse. Like, it just gets worse and worse.
The discussion about this master key doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because that master key is not for that door. There's more than one master key. Keys to the room.
So I want to talk about this because this is so stupid too. It's actually something else. I know it's a detail, but it just piles on to the lack of ability these people have to just think and do something. This which leads me to think, like, it's just lack of training. They were not trained to be in this high stress situation, so they just couldn't think. They couldn't think of the simple idea: just jiggle the door handle to see if it opens, right? Don't just automatically assume the door is locked. Like, how did the dude get in there? You cannot lock the doors from the inside. I'm a teacher, and all the schools that I've worked at, I've always thought it was stupid. You have to open the door. We'll have lockdown drills. You have to open the door from the inside to lock the door on the outside and then close the door. There is no way to lock the door from the inside in every school that I've taught in. I don't know what the reasoning for that is. I think it's dumb, but I think maybe it's because, like, they don't, like, if the teacher walks out, the kids can lock themselves in the classroom or something like that, or they can. I don't know. Like, I don't understand how that would happen, because a teacher shouldn't leave the kids alone in the classroom to begin with, and only the teacher should have the key to the classroom. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Elements of the BORTAC arriving at the elementary school was at 12:09 or 12:10. And I think the first BORTAC members went into the building at 12:15. During that time, the Uvalde ISD Ariano requests master key. Uvalde ISD Chief Ariano gives instructions to officers to have a sniper on the east roof.
You need snipers and keys.
There's more than one master key for the west building. Anytime the locks were changed, there was another master key for that lock. So you may find a master key, but there's 2 master keys. You've got to get both master keys. So there was some frustration in the discussion about this master key doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because that master key is not for that door.
And that doesn't make sense either, unless this school is made out of, like, all portables. Like, I've never heard of a school changing locks, like changing these doors, changing these locks right here. That doesn't happen a lot. Like, it's not something that happens on a yearly basis. I know schools where, like, you have a school key, like you have a key to your classroom. You, at the end of the school year, you turn in that key, so that when you come back the next year, they give you the key back, and then you use that to open your classroom door, right, when you're ready to start the new year. They don't change out the locks and give you a new key. They give you the old key. So that doesn't make sense.
$12:16, the USD chief says, I just need a key. The chief says, tell them to expletive wait. No one comes in. 12:20, the 4th ballistic shield shows up. At 12:21, importantly, the suspect fires 4 rounds. So if this is a barricaded subject, why is he still firing?
I hate that word.
Okay.
I hate not that word, but I hate that he's trying to be like this person. Like he used the word barricaded. This person isn't barricaded. If he's barricaded, why is he shooting? What does it matter? He's shooting. Like it. Who cares what word they use?
Thank you.
Sorry for the silence, guys. This guy's like processing.
The chief
stuff.
says at 12:28. Let me back up to 12:21. Can you get a breaching tool like a trailer house, like for a trailer house? The chief, we've lost 2 kids. These walls are thin. If he starts shooting, we're going to lose more kids. I have to say, we have to put those to the side right now. Uvalde chief attempts to communicate with a suspect in English and Spanish. Now, the entire communications was always one way. The suspect never communicated, so it was not communication. We're talking at.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said earlier that's why I think that this guy was thinking, and he said that too, like, oh, we have to just leave those where they at. Like, the kids are dead, right?
We're talking at. Was always one way. With a suspect in English and Spanish. Walls are thin. If he starts shooting, we're going to lose more kids. I have to say, we have to put those to the side right now.
We have to put those to the side right now. That I'm interpreting that as saying like those kids are already dead. We can't do anything about them. Yeah, they're dead. Let me try to save by talking to this idiot. Let me try to save him. Let me try to talk him down or something. That's the impression I'm getting from that.
Uvalde chief attempts to communicate with a suspect in English and Spanish. Now, the entire communications was always one way. The suspect never communicated, so it was not communication. We're talking at. But an officer, there's a teacher shot in there, to which the Uvalde PD officer replies, I know. The chief, people are going to ask why we're taking so long. We're trying to preserve the rest of the life. The chief, do we have a team ready to go? Do we have a team ready to go? Have at it. It's at 12:27.
So it's almost like he was making up the rule, like trying to rewrite the book. Like it's like he never read the active shooter manual, so he's just like making it up on the fly. Oh, we're trying to preserve life. Like no, that doesn't say that. He said at the beginning. It says in the manual or in the active shooter training that stop the shooting, stop the killing. You don't do that. You don't do that by talking. It doesn't say to talk them down. It says stop the shooting, stop the killing.
12:28. The chief. There's a window over there. Obviously, the door is probably going to be locked. Probably going to be locked. That is the nature of this place. I'm going to get some more keys to test.
That is the nature of this place.
The chief. These master keys are working here, bro. Aren't working here, bro. We have master keys and they're not working. The chief at 12:30. Okay, we've cleared out everything except for that room. We still have people down. They're just past the flag to the right. But we're ready to breach, but that door is locked.
This is interesting that they say that these master keys aren't working. So I'm curious, what like they don't clarify. What are they testing those keys on? Are they testing it on that door? Because they must be. Later on, I don't know if it's in this portion, but later on, he explains that the door was never locked. The classroom door was never locked. I want to find that and play that for you because it's like, that leads me to think like, so where were you testing those keys on? What door?
12:33. The chief. I say we breach through those windows and shoot his expletive head off through the windows. This is an hour and a half, an hour after he entered the building. 11:35, a hooligan tool arrives through the west door. At 12:38, the chief attempts to communicate with the suspect in English and Spanish. At 12:41, the chief says, just so you understand, we think there are some injuries in there. And so you know what we did, we cleared off the rest of the building so we wouldn't have any more besides what's already in there, obviously.
So right here, he's talking to the shooter. Like, why are you talking to why are you telling him this information?
11:42, the chief says, we have an expletive problem getting into the room because it's locked. He's got an AR-15 and he's shooting.
So he said that the room was locked.
Everywhere like crazy, so he stopped. 12:43, Uvalde chief, they got to get that expletive door open, bro. They can't get that door open. We need more keys or something.
So they're saying that with them saying that, it makes you think that they're trying to get the door open, but they just can't open the door.
12:46, the chief says, if y'all ready to do it, you do it. Well, you should distract him out that window. 11:47, the sledgehammer enters from the east hallway. 11:50, the breach and termination gunfire. At the time, there was a stack of 7 officers that went in. Actually, only 4 went directly in because the door closed, as will happen in some of these operations, and left the 3 out. 3 entered thereafter.
So, did you hear what he said? The door closed. How did the door get opened?
Shortly thereafter, 5 officers fired rounds, they fired rounds at the subject, killing the subject at that time.
How did they open the door? He didn't mention that, right?
5 officers fired rounds, went directly in because the door closed. If y'all ready to do it, you do it. Well, you should distract him out that window. 11:47, the sledgehammer enters from the east hallway.
So a sledgehammer, okay. What did they do with the sledgehammer?
11:50, the breach and termination gunfire.
The breach. So they breached with a sledgehammer?
At the time, there was a stack of 7 officers that went.
Are we to believe they breached with a sledgehammer? Is that what's going on based off of that timeline?
That concludes the timeline.
So
and
that's the end of the timeline. I want to get to the section where they talk about the door. So because I want to say in this video he mentions that the door was never locked.
Of course, I know that you may have some questions on.
Here we go.
So much stuff.
For the library and 3 other entrances, east, west, and south. The only way to do that is from the outside. You can't do it otherwise. So when she knocked the exterior doors, probably.
So the teacher could not even lock the classroom door from the inside?
That's
so the
teacher's right door, and the locked position. And I could actually have the door.
Again, guys, I highly recommend you guys watch the whole thing. It's a lot of information. It goes into all the details. I just want to find to make this last point, and that'll be the end about this door. Confirm that the door was never locked, because I've been kind of telling you guys that like they didn't even have the balls to just jiggle the handle.
Of another. This came from the west building. One of the doors right here, and I can demonstrate that if you to lock the door inside the classroom. The teacher can come outside the door. You cannot lock this door from the inside of the classroom. There's nothing the teacher could do to lock the door inside the classroom. The teacher can come outside the classroom as the requirement is to lock the door with a key, only with a key, and this right here by turning it, and the locked position. And I can actually have the door of another. This came from the west building, one of the doors right here, and I can demonstrate that if you'd like at this time, Mr. Chairman.
So the teacher could not even lock the classroom door from the inside?
That's correct. There's no way to lock the door from the inside, and there's no way for the subject to lock the door from the inside.
It was open.
We'd heard reports that the lock was malfunctioning, that they had turned in a request for the lock to be fixed. Is that all fictitious? Or
we had a locksmith inspect the lock and the strike plate. The lock was functional. The strike plate was not. What's not happening is, so as you can see on this door here.
What he's talking about, the strike plate, is that's the outside door. Like the doors that you push. The doors that have that little folding deal or whatever, that's what he's in reference to.
Is that, yes, the lock was working as it was designed, but if it doesn't the strike, the through doesn't get into the strike plate. It doesn't. It's not. It may be
From the inside?
That's correct. There's no way to launch your right here.
We've
I
got
think this one is probably the best example.
I want to say I heard him when I was watching this video a while back that he said in there
This
that
isn't the actual door.
the door was never locked.
Well, this shouldn't really. This is the actual door, but we really don't want to use that. This is room 127 and 126. That's what 111, this 112 and 111 would look like in that regard. And here's the door. You cannot lock this door from the inside of the classroom. There's nothing the teacher could do to lock the door inside the classroom. The teacher can come outside the classroom. That on the exterior, I thought early on, that door was unlocked as well. Well, this shouldn't really. This is the actual door, but we really don't want to use that. This is a particular scenario and options going forward. Well known is recognized that it would be better if the Department of Public Safety was asked to do the investigation.
Got Senator Zaffarini raised her hand first. Senator Zaffarini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel McGraw, you talked about different stages of this tragedy.
Correct. Yes, sir. And nor would the PDs. Okay.
School.
That's correct.
Whose radio will not work inside the school.
Oh, that's another thing
correct.
too.
Yes, sir.
None of the radios worked. It's crazy. None of the radios worked. Even the school resource officer, the school police, his radio didn't work inside the school for some reason. Like the way the building was constructed, which was crazy. I want to say, I don't know if I heard it in this video or another video, but the only people whose radios actually worked were the BORTAC, the Border Patrol agents' radios, because they had a tower that was really close by. Their tower was real close, so their signal was a little bit more amplified than everyone else's. I just want to try to find that section where to say that the door was unlocked.
And nor would the PDs. Okay. So if they're responding to assist. Yeah. And I can tell you that even when we take Border Patrol and they locked, and it was broken and reported it earlier.
And
I think, Chairman, I'll get that back to you in the committee.
officers' radio.
Be fixed. Chairman, I'll get that back to you in the committee exactly what days and reported it earlier. Yes, the teacher was convinced it was unlocked. And
The teacher thought the lock was broken.
round of submissions to have it fixed.
Lock. Okay, so there was never a request to have a lock fixed?
There was evidence that the requests were made. You can still take them out. That you're right looking at a mobile. If not, it's easy to. And in that red bag, one of the things you'll have, it's just the portable radios.
Message that says, "Welcome to Mexico."
Yes, ma'am. And not like posting as a threat to life or suspicious at that point in time. And that's where you're going to have the debate.
Right now, I'm like
privacy,
searching to see
this
where.
deviant subculture,
I don't think
whatever
I'm
you
gonna
want to
find
call
it.
it in that regard. If it's locked or unlocked, it will take the throw and put. And of course, no one had seamlessly. Okay, and he didn't have a key, and he certainly didn't lock. He couldn't lock it from the inside. So the door was unsecured, and we've gone back and checked in our interviews. And did anybody touch the door and try it? How about, do you need a key? Well, one of the things they teach you in active training, I'm sure that one of the experts can talk about it. How about trying the door? See if it's unlocked.
There it is.
Okay.
Here it is.
What we used to call a clue at that point. Why not? And of course, no one had. And so even if you're at point,
Okay, I think I found it.
Okay.
I know it took a while, but I think I found it. So the whole point I was trying to make, that I was searching for like 5 minutes or whatever, I'm sorry, but the whole time that they were there complaining they couldn't get inside, we need a hooligan tool, we need a breacher, we need something to breach this door, we need this, we need that. We got a sledgehammer. They almost like created like a situation, like almost like creating an excuse, like every order, like, oh, we can't get inside. Oh, the person is barricaded. Oh, we're trying to minimize the life loss. We're trying to preserve life, right? They're coming up with all these excuses, all these things because they don't remember their training. They're just completely blank. They either forgot the training or they were not trained. Like whichever one, it's bad, right? Like they didn't act the way that they were supposed to act. They were weak in a time where they did not need weakness. They needed action, right? And this is one of the main things that I thought was just amazing. So I just want to find it from the beginning. The door was never locked. They're trying all these master keys, and it goes back to that other thing they were talking about too. These keys aren't working here, bro. Like, where are you trying the keys? Are you trying them on other doors? Like, how do you know the keys aren't working? You obviously didn't try the key on that door because that door was never locked, and I'm going to prove that right here. Let's see.
As what we used to call a need, and it key out of the hallway, then walk back in again seamlessly, okay? And he didn't have a key, as I testified before, then shoot the classroom, walk back out of the hallway, then walk back in again seamlessly.
On a key, and there was a lot of time lapse in your timeline waiting on a key, and there's a lot of the communication that you have transcribed. The fact is it, could we ascertain here or conclude that there was never a need for a key because the lock was not working, the
I'm willing to
swipe plate was not working properly?
I don't believe, and put that, I don't believe, based on the information that we have right now, that that door was ever secured. In fact, I have great reason to believe it wasn't secured. The subject doesn't just walk in.
I hate that word he used, secured. A door can be unlocked yet still secured. I hate that word. So what he's saying is, I don't believe that door was ever locked. That's what he's saying. The door was never locked, and here's why he thinks that.
As I testified before, then shoot the classroom, walk back out of the hallway, then walk back in again seamlessly, okay? And he didn't have a key, and he certainly didn't lock, he couldn't lock it from the inside. So the door was unsecured, and we've gone back and checked in our interviews, and did anybody touch the door and try it? How about, do you need a key? Well, one of the things they teach you in active training, I'm sure that one of the experts can talk about it, how about trying the door?
He even said it. One of the things that they teach is to try the door. They couldn't even remember back to that training to just jiggle the handle. That's probably like the easiest thing. That's like I'm thinking of EMS. Like, oh, when you're gonna use an automated external defibrillator, an AED, right? What's the first step in using an AED? You got to turn it on, right? What's the first step into taking out an active shooter? You got to open the door, right? They just completely forgot that first step.
And see if it's unlocked, okay? As what we used to call a clue at that point. Why not? And of course, no one had. And so even if you're a part of the breaching team, we've gone back and talked to them, and they've been led to believe that it's locked. Even they, when you go back and talk to them, they didn't try the door. They took the key. As you can do the key, it'll open it. Okay, whether it's locked or unlocked, it will take the throw and put it back into the door, and you move it, and you can walk, and you go right in. So that's.
So out of lessons learned, what we would conclude from your testimony today would be that no one tried the door. There was a lot of time waiting for a key, of which a dysfunctional door was never locked because the shooter was able to walk in and, as you say, go back and forth.
Yeah, but
finally,
but moreover, though, you didn't need a key. Okay, there's tools, and the alert program, and you'll have some experts testify. I think sometime today they're going to be here. We had them go in and see if they could breach, and you can talk to them what they figured out, what they can do, how long it took. But the point is, you don't have to wait for a key, and shouldn't have to forever wait for a key to breach. And they'll talk, I'm sure, Windows. Windows are great access points.
So there it is. So he even added on to it. I didn't even go that far. He even added on to it. Even if you didn't have a key, you shouldn't need a key to have gotten in there. There was windows. There's other access points. It's crazy. It's amazing. So like that first statement that he said at the very beginning, at the very beginning of this part where we started this part of the video for our segment, he said that he believes without a doubt that, you know what, let's go back. I'm sorry. I want to go back so that we can hear it.
Occurred within the next couple of minutes. So you can go up on the timeline here. Begin shooting at your classroom 111, 112. He enters to 11:33. So we're talking about 32 seconds after he enters, because he entered West Building at 11:33. So he either crashes at 11:28, enters the building at 11:33, or 11:33 exactly, and 11:33 in seconds, begins shooting at the classroom, and then he enters into what we believe is 111. I say believe, okay, at this time. 111, 7, okay, and injuring 2 officers who were approaching. That the rooms, the walls inside the interior retreated. At 11 officers right on, for considering all the different factors in that regard. There was never a school resource officer at the time in the building at 11:36. Is the drug quickly and stop under the sound of gun. We preach. Everyone's taught this. You require it in T-Cole training. We practice it. We preached it. This is the doctrine, and it recognizes that you run to the sound of gunfire. For you Uvalde PD officers, okay? Let me, higher up here. Along this area, as he's street building, and if we have it, the diagram on my left here, you can see. Now, some of those rounds could have been, when we're back initially, another 11 rounds were fired. He drives direct gunfire. You don't stop. 40, well, we have Chief, 1140, we have Chief. Well, first report, officers contained. Subject contained is a thing you call for swatting more than enough. Reported he did not have a radio with him. Inside the building, surrounded. And you can read it yourself. He did not. This was not for SWAT. Hostage contained as a barrel contained in the Chief 1140. Done was right. A great. There was kids in that room. Okay. And underscore them. There's no doubt in my mind that those officers would have gone. Any one of them would have sacrificed their lives for those children. Any one of them, if they knew there was kids in that room that were and teachers in that room. I have great confidence that those police officers, those local officers, would have done what was right.
I'm sorry, guys. I was muted this whole time. I'm so sorry. Oh man. Okay, that's good. At least you didn't hear. Okay. Okay. Let's start all over. I'm sorry, guys. So right here.
Sacrifice their lives for those children.
So the whole thing was.
And I'll tell you what.
He said that this goes kind of back to the lack of training, where he was saying that he believed that all those officers would have sacrificed their lives and done what they need to do had they known kids were in that room. Like, that makes no difference, because they knew, first of all, they knew that there was at least a teacher in that room because of the police officer that got a ride to the school because his wife, who was in the classroom, who was shot in the classroom, called him. She called her husband to that she was like shot in the school. So he goes to rush. So they knew that at least one teacher was in there. At least one teacher was in there. Chances are, if there's a teacher in there, there's probably students in there. And even then, if there's a teacher in there, you should go in there. There's a person in there. It's almost as if they looked for every excuse not to verify there were kids in there or there were people in there, so that they wouldn't have to put their lives in danger. So that they can just go back and say, oh, well, I didn't know. If I knew that there were people in there, I would have gone in there. If the door wasn't locked, I would have went in there. If I had an AR-15, I would have went in there. If I had a shield, I would have went in there. If I had a radio, I would have been in there. If I had backup, like, they're just piling on excuses after excuses just so that they can back out of doing what was required of them. And what was required of them was action. So let's hear it really quick, just to verify.
And I've said it before, and I hope I'm underscoring this. There's no doubt in my mind that those officers would have gone, any one of them would have sacrificed their lives for those children. Any one of them. If they knew there was kids in that room and teachers in that room, I have great confidence that those police officers, those local officers, would have done what was right.
That they would have done what was right. And I think, I don't know if he's lying to himself or what, but he has all this information. He has all the information that the door was never locked. They never checked to see if the door was open. He talked to the chief of police, talked to the shooter, gave him all of these, gave him all the insight of the inside scoop of what's going on, all this crazy stuff. Yet he still never checked to see if the door was open. If that was true, then I don't believe that he would have laid out his life. He was looking out for himself. So we can see for ourselves, guys, to end this. I'm sorry I had that silent moment for a little bit, running on a little bit. You didn't miss anything. I didn't miss anything. I was really searching for that one part. But to end this all, to wrap this all up, guys, we can see for ourselves what can happen when we encourage weakness, when we embolden perversion. We create a society that is confused, unable to face reality when it comes head on. What will happen when society is faced with a situation that requires action? Do we leave it up to people who are so confused about their own identity that they mutilate their bodies to make those decisions for us? These people need help. They don't need encouragement. They don't need praise. We are no better than them when we perpetuate their undeniable condition. Do we want to leave these difficult decisions with people who allow fear to control their required actions? It's a horrible feeling knowing that you're helpless. Or what happens when you depend on the actions of others? It's a horrible feeling. These are not feelings of joy, which is why I try my best to be as self-reliant as possible. I'm sure there are many of you like that, but there are people out there actively perpetuating a condition that will result in only further decay of our society. So again, guys, thanks for watching. That's going to conclude the main portion of our video. Again, I'm sorry for that little dead space there. If you guys stuck around, I really, really appreciate it. Again, I would like to try to get back into schedule again, but it's going to be hard with things that have been going on. Either way, guys, I will continue with this project. I still want to do these episodes. I really enjoy them. I might change them up every now and then. I usually write a script with like I did here, where I have a theme, I have an idea that I want to get across, and I use different examples to kind of come up. It takes a little bit of work. I don't want to say a lot of work. It takes a little bit of work where I have to, I have to think about this stuff and have to come up with examples for it, just so that I'm not, talking out my ass. But I may change it up a little bit where I do more commentary and things like that, because that just doesn't really take that much work, because I just put on a video and I tell you what I think about it, right? Like, it's just kind of a straightforward type of thing where I don't have to type things out and come up with a theme and give you guys kind of like a message, right? But it still kind of fulfills the goal here, where I want to encourage discussion. I want to encourage people to talk about things that maybe they don't agree with, and we just start talking about things again, right? It doesn't hurt. But either way, guys, I want to thank you again for watching Slamfire. There's been another episode of Slamfire. Be sure to go to slamfiremedia.com. We have all our links to YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble, and you can follow us on social media. We are at Slamfire Media. You can follow us at Gab, follow us on Gab, or on truth.social, whichever one you guys choose. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe.